Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Orlando Ferrer with Informed Decisions. This is part 4 of our 4-part series during the month of February. These are, we're keeping these down to about 20 to 30 minutes per session. And again, if you have any questions along the way, use your chat box for questions on your webinar tools, and we'll get those answered for you either during our conversation today or at the end. And if you need more information or any details beyond this after our series is done, please feel free to reach out to me. We'll get those answered for you. And this webinar is being recorded. If you haven't gone to it, if you go to the informeddecisions.com site, go on the resources and videos, you'll see all 3 already recorded parts of this series, and part 4 will be there later on today or by Monday. Today we are going to wrap things up. Last couple series, we've actually looked at the form designs. We've worked with the iDocs engines. We've created a IPDF monitor engine, which is creating the output into a PDF and going into a directory. And today what we're going to work with is the iMail module, and specifically an iMail application and engine. And then we're going to put everything together and you actually see this whole process go through fully. And this is what we're going to do today, and essentially. So we're just going to go right into it. A little recap. I'm just going to hammer this home, just the logic behind the engines, because this is an important thing. Again, this goes across pretty much almost all the engines. We're going to monitor an out queue for a spoof file. We're going to conduct our test of that spoof file. Once we have a positive or a true statement that, yes, this is the spoof file we want to work with, we move on to our next step, which is actually invoking an action. In this case will be, or most likely is going to be, merging in an application with the spoof file that we've selected or we told it to use. And of course we're going to send out the output, and then we're going to hand off that spoof file to another process or another out queue for the next step. And as a reminder, remember, we can put these all together back to back, different engines together as a daisy chain process. And today we're going to continue that. If you recall from our initial setup and flow of everything, we've created our form application with the design and mapping instructions, which create the form application. And we're going to have our iDocs, we've had our iDocs engine set up to pick up that form application and actually send it off to do 2 different spots. One is using smart routing, so the output gets emailed out, and then we're also sending it out to a different out queue for our IPDF monitor engine to pick that up, convert that output into a PDF, and send it off to a directory on our system to pick up. And what happens if you get a bad email when you're doing your smart routing? Well, we're going to set up the iMail server and application to actually pick up a bad email or something that didn't really go out and notify a recipient who's going to be responsible for fixing that in the future for future events. So we're going to actually set this up to monitor an out queue of bad emails. And that's going to be today's task. So let's go back here. This is the essential concept behind that end part there. Spoof file, it will go into the iDocs engine. It's going to merge with the form application. It's going to go through a smart routing process. And in the smart routing process, when the emails are good, then it's going to go out to a recipient and with an attached PDF of that actual invoice in our specific form that we have done today in this whole month. When the email is bad, well, we're going to send out the output to an out queue. And what we're going to set up is the iMail engine to monitor an out queue. We actually have an email or iMail application set up to tell it exactly what we're going to do with this information and what we're going to send it out to. And that's going to go out to a recipient who's going to be responsible to fix this. This is essentially what we're doing today. So from there, I'm actually going to go and bring in our iSeries here. And what we're going to do is we're going to work with option 11 for emailing, and this is going to be our email options. One of the things before we get going, I just want to kind of point out, this is one of the things we're going to use out here. We're going to use our email log to see what's happening with emails going out. You may have a different version. If you do, you can always get an upgrade. But this is good because it tells us specifically what's going out, what time, if it's actually sent, or if there was an error, or if there was a problem along the way. So this is a good way, and I'll show you what, I think we have some errors in here. It's like something that we were messing back with here that we actually broke. Said that it was an error status, or it was sending, which was actually part of this, I think, in our testing that we were doing back on the 14. So this is a good way to find out if your emails are not going out or going out. And also, if you need to reset them, you actually have a reset option. And if you need to find an email that was sent back a while ago, you have an option to find those emails as well. So a nice little finding feature. We just had somebody today that we worked with, actually the last couple of days, that they were sifting through a whole bunch of spool files, records to resend emails, and they didn't have this loaded up. Now they do, and saving them a whole bunch of time. So that's always good. All right. And also in the email menu, something that we actually have is you can actually create user internet address book that we have in the email setup, and also create groups as well. And we'll be working with those as well. So today, for our example, we're going to page down, and we're actually going to work with an email application and also with a server, or what we call the engine itself. There's a little naming there, but let's go here. We're going to do a 3031. And what we did for our setup was create a application. It's called Hobbs Bad Email, or EML for bad emails. And what this application is going to do is going to send to a group. You can actually put a specific email in there. In this case, I actually have a group set up, and if I do F7, I actually show you my group that I have set up. I can select this group, and that group is going to have some recipients inside of it that this will go out to. And so that you see what that looks like. Whoops, it went out too far. Let me select our groups. We'll go down to our Hobbs invoice group that we've set up earlier, and I actually have two recipients under this group. So under the Hobbs invoice group, I have myself as a recipient, and I also put in my son's email address as well. So we'll both get the email when those go out, because it's going out to this group. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go back here and go back to our option that we were working with, which is 31. Go into our email application, and again, we're using the group to send this to. We give it a subject line so the recipient knows what's coming along the way. The attachment is going to be a PDF, and if we wanted to actually add something to the body, we'll use option F8, in this case we did, to give it a little message of what's in that email. Pretty straightforward, nothing too exciting there or complicated. So the next option is going to see, so we have an application that the email software knows what to do with the email, where to send it. Now we need to actually set up the automation part behind this. This is going to be option 32 to set up the email engine. And that's going to be over here. We've actually gone down here, then at F6 to set this up, and this is what this looks like. We're actually going to monitor the bad email out queue. Why are we doing this? Because in our process, when we go work with our application, and we did 18 for the smart routing, we've told it if it's going to be a bad email, send it off to the bad email out queue under my library name. So if it's a bad email, it's going to go into this out queue. At that point, if we go back down, you'll see that we're going to monitor this. This is that daisy chain process that we talked about earlier. So we're going to monitor this out queue for a spoof file to go in. We're going to do our spoof file test. In this case, I'm going to look at user data, and if it equals to webinar, then that's what we want to work with. And I've told it then I'm going to want this to work with the IMAIL application called Hobbs Bad Email or EML. After the spoof file is done, it actually will put in that output into a different LQ that I've created called Bad Email 2. So you can actually keep passing this forward on a daisy chain. And I've actually set this up as a data queue engine. You can set this up as a polling engine. Again, the difference is polling engine is going to check your LQ that you're monitoring at a frequency, usually by default 60 seconds, every 60 seconds, but you can change that to be faster or slower. A data queue is going to be a pipe monitoring that LQ for an activity to happen. When the spoof file comes into that LQ, basically says, oh, there's an LQ, there's a spoof file there, let me work with it. And this is really the setup. So we've set up an application, we've set up the server. Next thing we've gone ahead and do is actually start the actual, using option 8, we've actually started that engine. And if we look now on the work active jobs, if I can type, here are my 3 engines because I actually have them running already that I've started up. We have our, I'm sorry, these are the engines right there. We have our Web v3, which is our iDocs engine, which is really what starts everything. From there, it triggers the process of merging the form application with the actual spoof file that goes into it. If it's a good email, then it's going to email it out automatically using our IMAIL product. If it's bad, it's going to send it out to the bad email out queue, in which case our Hobbs email or Hobbs email engine is going to pick that up and send that to the recipient as a bad email. And at the same time, we're doing a second sequence where we're sending that output to a out queue in which the IPDF monitor engine is monitoring and converting that to a PDF and directory in our system. So all these things are happening simultaneously. It's almost really like a workflow if you think about it as a business process or business rules along the way. So we're actually going to process this through, and you actually see in a process. Again, spoof file is going to come in. The iDocs engine is going to pick it up. It's going to do a spoof file test. It will do the merge with the form application. We'll send this out on the first sequence out using smart routing. Email will go out to recipient when the email is good. If it's a bad email, we've just set up the IMAIL server to actually pick up that output, send it off to a recipient that we've in that IMAIL application. And at the same time, we have a second sequence from the iDocs engine in which we're going to send an output to a out queue in which the IPDF monitor engine is monitoring, convert that into a PDF, and send it off to a directory in our system so we can pick this up. So this is the whole process. And I'm going to show you how that works right now, live. So I'm going to go into all I have to do actually, I'll tell you where we go. What did I call my name? Okay. What did I call my engine? I almost got there. Oh, okay, that's my engine. Sorry, forgot what I called it. This is live. There's my engine. I'm going to look at it. So I'm actually going to send the original spoof file to the in-out queue under my library. It's going to process through, and star form member tells it, I'm not going to tell you where to go. The form application is going to tell you where to go. And the form application is going to do the 2 sequences that we see right here. Star email PDF will trigger smart routing. The second sequence will send it off to the 2 PDF monitor out queue, and that will process through. I'm just going to check one last thing, which is my library list. That looks good. All right, I will do a work out queue. And I actually have two spoof files, two-page spoof files. The first one's the one we've been using, so I'm going to send this off so you actually see this process go out. I'm going to feed this to the in out queue. Oh, actually, before I do that, I better release that so it actually goes out released. Now I'm going to move it to my in out queue. Oh. Bad spelling here. Yes. There we go. What did I do? There we go. Okay. That's off and processing along the way. And if I go back to my work active jobs, probably see some engines running along the way if I got to it just in time. See that engine already running, the Web v3. Then that kicks off our IPDF monitor engine, which is running right now as well. That's converting those files or that output into a PDF. And if I look up, let me get this pulled up for you. And I should start seeing that's one of the invoices that just came in. That's the second one that just is coming in right now. So the IPDF monitor was able to pick up that output and just populated the directory that we have on our IFS with those two files. And at the same time, I actually should see in my emails, we'll bring that in here as well. You'll see the two emails that have just come in as well. Those are the brand new ones that just came in. And it has our information in there, our signature line. It actually go in, open that up. There's our invoice that we sent out. And again, remember, we did two because we actually have a two-page invoice to two different people, and we burst those out. Now, we're going to actually do the same thing, but this time we're going to actually do it with an email that, or a spoof file that has a bad email. And that's going to be the happy knot one. So I'm going to release this, make sure that goes out released. Do it two, do an out queue, in. It's going to go do the same thing. And off it should go. So let's look at our work active job. We should see some more activity in there happening as I refresh. It's running. It's running. You should see a IPDF monitor running as well because that's taking another action as well. And lastly, we should see our hops email engine pick up as well and take that off. While that's happening, I will show you one of the cool things that's happened. Remember we talked earlier about the iMail log? So if I go to iMail and I look at the log while this is all going on, we see that the first two that I sent that were good have actually sent, and SNT is the status for sent, but there was a problem sending one of those out. And that's that problem right there. Let me just check something here. Actually, should be receiving. You know what? I think I actually used the wrong spoof file. Let's see. Let me see. I may have used the wrong spoof file, guys. Let me take a quick peek. Yeah, I did use the wrong spoof file. Let me use the right spoof file to do that again. Sorry. Release, take a two, out queue, in. Let's send this one off. Sometimes it's difficult to break things, but we're breaking this one on purpose. So this has actually gone off. We'll see our same thing here. If I do a work active job, we should see everything chunking away. Our engine, or iDocs engine, is picking that up first. Our IPDF monitor is picking that up second. And lastly, we should see some activity with our hops email, which is what we saw. So you saw the sequence of iDocs engine, IPDF engine, and then the iMail engine picking that up. Now, if I look, again, we'll bring up our output areas that we actually have. Sorry, I'm selecting items here. Where's my email? There we go. Sorry, guys. Had a little mouse problem. So you actually see, and this one, we actually had one with a good email that had gone out. It goes into our, as though it went out correctly. And then this email is the one that actually came from our bad email that we sent out. And you know that because it's actually coming from a bad email. And it's actually, you see the group that it actually went out to. And if I go look in my son's emails, we should see in there, if I do a refresh, there's the bad email that we've actually sent out to as well. He has a Google account, so that's what that looks like. So it distributes out from the bad emails when it's going bad, and when it's good, it goes like normal. So you actually, if I was a recipient or an administrator of this, I know that, okay, there was something wrong with this. I can actually go look, open up the actual PDF and see that something was actually not going out right for this account. That should have gone out to recipient. It didn't. I can forward this to them. I can look it up. Maybe it's a bad email account. Maybe something was wrong. In this case, we just took out the email address on the second page to say, oh, there was nothing there. It defaulted as a bad email, and it went out as a bad email through the iMail setup. So in that process we just did now, first time around, the iDocs engine picked it up. Both of those, it got burst. This spoof file got burst, got merged to the form application. They went through their smart writing process. Both emails were good, so they went out to the recipient. The second time with the second spoof file, again, went through the iDocs engine, same process. This time, page 1 was a good email, so it went out to recipient. Page 2 wasn't. It went out to the bad out queue, email out queue, got picked up by the iMail engine as something that we actually had to send out to that iMail application. It went out, and it went out to the recipient for the actual to fix down the road. At the same time, we did a second sequence in which we sent out the output to the IPDF monitor to pick up and send off to a directory as a PDF. That's a whole project that we did in the last couple of weeks all together. And that kind of wraps up really the whole program that we've done. At this point, we're way early. We're right at 24 minutes, so we got about 6 minutes left. I'm going to ask everyone if you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to talk about. Just feel free to, again, to send me an email at orlando@informeddecisions.com or give me a call, one of these two numbers. And for the recordings of the webinars, again, they're going to be on the informeddecisions.com website, on the resources, on the videos. So you can go there directly and actually find those and reference these for future viewings that you need. If you have anything, again, feel free to give me a call and ask those questions. We'll get on and we'll talk about those, show you how to do things, and answer any questions that we can the best we can. And if you have anything right now, please use your questions to be asked. Other than that, we'll conclude the series. We'll conclude this part 4 of 4. And keep an eye out in March for another webinar. I think we're going to do something on moving files around in March. And that was a big request from our survey. So we'll do something about smart routing and also moving files around on the IBMI to different directories, different areas that we have going out there. And we'll do that securely and using one of our modules that we call iBridge to do that process. So thank you again for attending. Thank you for attending every Friday in February. I'm most grateful, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.